Hello, this is the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, on Love 99.5 in Kumasi, over 30 affiliates across Ghana, 16 regions, including Radio Max, Takrade, Castle FM, Cape Coast, Bupe FM, Bupe, and Dreams, Bolgatanga. We're also live on X Spaces, Facebook, and My Joy online interactive app. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol, always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. The only water storage tank with a level indicator where Duraplus goes, water flows. Coming up, President Akufo-Addo mediates NPP caucus dispute, calls for a meeting over front bench reshuffle controversy.
We are hearing that, the deputy is going to replace the leader. I mean, is this a coup? Is there a division? Is there a camp for the leader and then another camp for the deputy?
Also, electricity supply to Parliament could be disconnected over a 23 million cedi unpaid bill. We have the latest. Also, President Akufo-Addo advocates for repatriation of 30% of Ghana's public funds from foreign banks to strengthen African financial institutions.
We should take a decision that a minimum of 30% of the reserves of each one of us, sovereign reserves, should in fact be invested in the ADB. I speak of Afro-Exim Bank. These institutions are institutions which are ours and which we can trust.
We'll hear shortly from the former Finance Minister, Seth Terkper, who says the move will make little difference given the mismanagement of Ghana's central bank. And also the West African Education Council commences investigations into over 200 private WASI results withheld for various infractions, including impersonation and the use of foreign materials.
The reports that they brought are the reason for which we withheld the results of the 289 candidates for further investigation. And what we are going to do is that we are going to place them in the various categories because each category has its repercussion.
We have sports.
Well, former Ghana international Tony Bafo has criticized the sports ministry over their unwillingness to settle the outstanding $7,500 bonus to the Black Queens.
And the 2023 household income survey finds 1.3 million Ghanaian youths unemployed.
Get rid of the 1.3 million youth unemployed population that we're talking about.
We have all the details here on the Midday News with me, Maame, Nyamekye, Thompson. We are your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Do stay. Let's start now. Joy News is learning President Akufo-Addo has summoned the NPP Majority Caucus to a meeting later today at the Jubilee House to resolve the growing tension among the caucus over the proposed reshuffle of the front bench in Parliament. The National Executive Committee Council of the party skipped a discussion on the proposal at its last meeting, but the agenda is dividing the caucus, with a section led by the First Deputy Speaker, Joseph Osei-Wusu, kicking against any change in the leadership.
The caucus, the majority caucus, has not made any changes in its leadership. The majority caucus has not contemplated making any changes to its leadership, and that we tell the whole world, Ghana, to ignore any such publication. They want to assure you that we have confidence in the leadership as they are, and the status quo shall remain.
A leading member of the party, Peter Maame, says the proposal was tabled before some NPP MPs.
It came up, but it came up in the sense that it was on the agenda, but the General Secretary and the chairman dropped it, that they need further consultation with the members of Parliament.
It was not discussed at all?
No. The only thing that was done was that it's on the agenda, but it's going to be stood down for further consultation with our members of Parliament.
So therefore, the proposal to make some changes has been mooted?
For now, because I came here as I sat down in the lobby, then I saw Honorable...
Yes, because I will need your reaction to that.
Honorable...
Joe Wise.
Joe Wise speaking to the press. Yeah. No, we've changed things such that we think that previously it was the party which made which chose the leaders. But we changed our rules.
But who is the proponent behind this motion or this move for a reshuffle of the majority leadership?
It must come from them.
You heard leading member of the party, Peter Maame, saying that the proposal was tabled by some NPP MPs there. Well, let's go live to Parliament and speak to correspondent Kweku Asante. Kweku, the caucus scheduled a meeting this morning. What is the outcome?
We understand because of this invitation from the president, the caucus had decided against meeting this morning. In fact, some MPs came in very early this morning to partake in this meeting. I can tell you that the caucus is sharply divided on who should become the new majority leader. There are those led by Joseph Sewus who believe no change is warranted. They want to keep us chairman Sabos. While so many MPs are now coming forward, clearly announcing their intention that the deputy Afenyo Martin should be able to lead. And in fact, some interviews I've conducted this morning, some persons have spoken to believe that it is time for this change to happen to rejuvenate the front bench of the majority ahead of the 2024 election. And so this morning meeting did not come off as expected, but because the president himself will be meeting them at the Jubilee House at 6 p.m. to thrash out these issues. We also understand that the president, as the head of the executive and having set control in terms of how these parliamentary leadership issues can be resolved, may actually announce to them that he officially backs the position to change Osei Chairman Sabons and introduce his deputy, Alexander Afenyo Martin, as the new leader.
Well, Koku, we also understand there was tension hovering in that corridor. Has it simmered or is still strong?
It is still very strong. In fact, Parliament has suspended for 1 hour, 20 minutes to consider some committee business. They'll come back. But I was just standing in the press gallery and you look into the chamber, you see caucuses of MPs on the floor having conversation clearly about this. The minority MPs are speaking about this. One of them that I spoke to at the coffee shop really believe that there is a coup backing the position of the ASEPA boss yesterday on PM Express that there's a certain coup about to happen. But you can still feel a certain tension among the rival factions within the governing Patriotic Party here in Parliament. Those who back Osei Mensah to continue in the next 8 months, and those who believe that, given that he is not expected to return to Parliament in 2025, maybe this is the time to give the reins of power to Alexander Afenyo Martin so that he can be best suited to lead the party from 2025 because he may return to the House if he wins his election in 2025. But clearly, you can feel the tensions when you see MPs ride around caucusing in the chamber and trying to see the way forward as they go to meet the president at 6 p.m. this evening.
Well, Kweku, you have to stay with me. We stay a while longer in Parliament. Well, parliamentary watcher Dr. Rashid Draman is warning the development, if not handled well, will further divide the party.
I think that what is happening is just the issue of lack of participation, lack of consultation, and lack of carrying everybody along. We all remember what happened with the NDC shake-up. It nearly broke their caucus. And I don't know why the MPP did not learn from this, particularly at this critical moment. You know, if you want to break the eight, I think the key ingredient need is unity, particularly coming out of the rank-cross primaries where I believe a number of the MPs and so on are not happy with
Well, MPs affected by the floods caused by the spillage of the Akosombo are demanding an urgent and immediate replacement of all identification documents lost by victims. MP for Nocton has warned that there could be mass voter marginalization if their voter ID cards, for instance, are not replaced ahead of the 2024 election.
The House deserves to be assured that our compatriots will not be disenfranchised in this year's presidential and parliamentary elections. Practical steps ought to be taken by the EC to ensure that all who lost their voter ID cards have their cards replaced. It is not good enough for them to be told by the EC that they can vote without their cards.
A furious MP for Whole West, Emmanuel Kwesi argues that it appears there is no government in the country given how abysmal the response to the floods and victims have been.
Government that we all know is working does not need a statement in this House to register people or replace their cards. It's because the government is not working. That is why a member of parliament will call on government to register its own citizens who have lost their cards, national identification card, national health insurance card, voters register card. Why should we be calling on government?
Well, Kwekwa Asante, you're still with us. On this issue of flooding, how has the majority responded?
Well, the deputy majority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Martin, believes that his colleagues are just playing politics, and that if they really want action, they should be going to the EC directly, they should be going to the NIA and other such relevant bodies that can listen to their grievances and address them.
Mr. Speaker, they want you to err with all your experience. I will aid you not to err. Mr. Speaker, the Electoral Commission is there. It's an independent constitutional body. No. The call should be made on the Electoral Commission.
Well, Kweku, we're also learning ECG officials are around to disconnect Parliament from the national grid over a 23 million cedi debt owed the power distributor. Is that true?
The lights are still on in Parliament. Yesterday, ECG officials gave the indication that because of this huge debt, they're going to disconnect the Parliament of Ghana from the national grid. In fact, this morning we've seen some ECG officials who have been seen around the transformers here in Parliament. But the light is still on. We understand some intense negotiation is ongoing for some part of the debt to be cleared so that the lights will stay on. But the ECG have been adamant that because of the huge nature of the debt, they intend to disconnect Parliament from the national grid.
Thank you. Kwekwa Asante is our parliamentary correspondent. Moving away from Parliament, 1.3 million Ghanaians between ages 15 to 35 were unemployed in the first quarter of 2023. According to the government statistician Professor Samuel Kwabena Enim, the figure represents a 14% increase compared to the same period in 2022. The statistics also reveal that the Northeast region had the highest unemployment rate in the country at the end of 2023. These statistics are contained in the 2023 Annual Household Income and Expenditure Survey, Quarter 3 Labour Statistics Bulletin by the Ghana Statistical Service.
That is the population that we need to have in mind. So if you are doing something around 200,000, it should give you a sense of how long it's going to take us to get rid of the 1.3 million youth unemployed population that we're talking about. And keep in mind that from a trend perspective, this number has gone up by 14.6% between the first 3 quarters of 2022 and the first 3 quarters of 2023. What is more compelling with this is, if you keep in mind the total population that is unemployed, which we saw in the first slide, which ranged between 1.69 million in the first quarter of 2023 to 1.85 million in the third quarter of 2023.
My colleague Kenneth Jesse is at the launch and has been observing events. Ken, what more can you report?
Well, they also spoke about the intensity of the experience of unemployment. That means the number of periods people have been unemployed during their service. So they said that within 6-month period, they realized that about 1.1 persons had been unemployed for 6 continuous months. And then in a 9-month period, they realized that 700,000 people were unemployed for 9 straight months. The higher the number of months, the lower the unemployment rate. They also spoke about the fact that about 440,000 persons joined the labor force between the first quarter of 2023 and the third quarter of 2023, of which more than 60% were employed during the period. And then also that 10 regions reported a reduction quarter-on-quarter percentage change in the number of persons employed. And only 2 regions, that is the Greater Accra region and the Ashanti region, consistently recorded unemployment rates higher than the national average of 14.7% during the 7 quarters of the survey.
Thank you, Kenneth. Now, President Akufo-Addo is proposing that Ghana withdraws at least 30% of all public funds and other assets kept in foreign banks and financial institutions. According to the president, Ghana and other African states are fond of placing their sovereign reserves in foreign financial institutions, a situation he believes is derailing much needed development financing for Africa. Speaking at the presidential dialogue on Africa Union financial institutions organized on the sidelines of the 37th Africa Africa Union Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, the champion of the African Union financial institution rallied his colleague African leaders to take a collective decision to withdraw that amount from their foreign reserves and deposit them in African financial institutions.
As it stands, virtually all our countries, we hold our reserves in foreign banks, attracting largely negative rates of interest. The proposal that I'm going to put to the plenary and I want to share with you, so it will form part of our discussions, is that we should take a decision that a minimum of 30% of the reserves of each one of us, sovereign reserves, should in fact be invested in the African multilateral institutions. I speak about the ADB, I speak of Afro-Exim Bank, which will strengthen their balance sheets and strengthen their capacity also to facilitate more and more resources for our development. If we find a way where we can increase the financial power of our own institutions, we're in a better place to finance our development.
Well, there are concerns that given the sovereign debt crisis confronting many African nations, a withdrawal of 30% of foreign reserves and its subsequent investment in African banks will make very little difference. Joining us now is former Financial Minister Seth Terkper is joining us, and he's on the telephone lines now with us. Mr. Terkper, do you support the proposal from the President that at least 30% of our foreign reserves be brought back into Africa?
Well, I support any realistic proposal, that will strengthen our multilateral institutions. The two examples being the African Development Bank and the Afro-Exim that His Excellency, the President mentioned. My support is however qualified. And that is the point I wish to make. It's a qualified one. And let me give you a couple of reasons, or 2 or 3 reasons. First of all, the strength of the African Development Bank depends on the strength of its member countries. And therefore, because when the African Development Bank uses loans, whatever the source, and gives loans to member countries, if the member countries default and they don't pay, it will bring down the bank. And so if you look at our situation today, the only reason African Development Bank may not be at the table negotiating its loan as other government official creditors and the rest is because it is classified. It is classified as a multilateral institution together with the World Bank and IMF. And therefore, for now, they are not, in those discussions in order that they can support our program. That's it. Otherwise, anybody else is at the table. Official creditors, that is countries and their agencies. We have the commercial creditors, with whom we have just started. And we have our own domestic, bonds, holders, right?
Yeah.
We are unable to even sustain our own domestic, market by the same government which has defaulted. And members have, and citizens have had a haircut, right? So if we take this approach, that's the point I'm making, to our institutions, and more African countries take this approach to our institutions, then we are going to bring them down. Right. Now, secondly, let's go to the sources. Where does the African Development Bank get its money? Of course, it gets some money from our contributions. But most of the money comes from the market. African Development Bank is rated AAA. Afro-Exim is rated BAAA, right? So that means that they are able to borrow at very low cost. And that's why they are able to transfer those loans, on-lend those loans, that's the word, on-lend those loans to us,
right.
Yes. To do our infrastructure developments, and the rest. Secondly, annually, the African Development Bank goes to them, to the advanced countries and asks for money which is put into a special fund. The ADF and the other funds. And this is so concessional that it is able to use it to support the low-income countries and the lower middle-income countries of which Ghana is a member, right? Yes. So if we take those monies and we do not pay back, as our behavior is showing, advanced countries may feel reluctant giving us, that money. Right. And so you see where I'm leading to. It doesn't matter whether it's your own money or it's somebody's money. If you lend it to your lending institution and you do not pay, that's the outcome. And you know very well when we had, to come home again, when we had a lot of non-performing loans, it brought our banks down.
Right.
Many of them are still in pain. So that's my point.
Thank you very much. We are very grateful for your time here on the Midday News. Mr. Setekpe is former finance minister. Now it's time for fact-checking. Today we're focusing on some of the claims made by Deputy General Secretary of the new Patriotic Party, Haruna Mohammed, and that of the National Democratic Congress, Mustafa Bande, at the launch of the election headquarters. Raymond Ankwa joins me in the studio with more on these claims. Well, Raymond, let's start with a claim made by the governing NPP, the Deputy General Secretary, Haruna Mohammed.
Now, he said the controversy really is over whether the NPP promised to set up farms under the Planting for Food and Jobs program. We can hear him.
The NPP did not say that the NPP is coming to construct or develop farms. The NPP said they're going to support farmers.
So that's the clarity.
It's going to support farmers.
Okay.
And it is evident enough in terms of the growth in agriculture.
Well, what's the verdict on this?
It is true that the NPP did not set out to start farms. That's not in controversy. Of course, there are 5 key pillars that the Planning for Food and Jobs actually set out to do. Provision of subsidized certified seeds. 2, subsidized fertilizer. 3, e-agriculture. 4, market opportunities. And 5, free extension services. These are the areas. The second part of that is that the growth in that sector shows what is really happening. It's mostly true that there's been some improvement in agri sector growth since it was introduced. Growth in the sector averaged 1.9% from the 2014 to 2016 period prior to Planting for Food and Jobs, 1.9%. This growth increased on an average of 5.2% from the 2017 to 2019 period, and further increased to 6.6% between 2020 and 2022. So the growth rates actually bears out perhaps an improvement in agric merely based on the growth rate figures.
Well, let's concentrate now on Mustafa Bande. What are the claims?
Now, his claim borders on the One District, One Factory initiative and the establishment of the company B5 Plus Limited.
You and I know that B5 was established in 2022. So when did it become part of One District, One Factory?
Raymond, what's the verdict?
Now, the claim that the company B5 Plus Limited was established in 2022 is false. B5 was rather founded in the year 2002. Interestingly, in 2021 was when President Akufo-Addo commissioned the first phase of its iron and steel factory in the Ningo Pram district. There, he said they gave support to the what they call it project because of 1D, 1F. The CEO of the company himself also said it was built in line with the One District, One Factory program. So, no, it couldn't have been set up in the year 2022.
Thank you so much, Raymond Akwai's lead on our research decks. You're still listening to the Midday News brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity, and Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank, the only water storage with a level indicator. Coming up still, the West Africa Education Examination Council, I beg your pardon, commences investigations into over 200 private WASI results withheld for various infractions.
The reports that they brought are the reason for which we withheld the results of the 289 candidates for further investigation. And what we are going to do is we are going to place them in the various categories because each category has its repercussions.
When budgets are tight and money difficult to come by, you want to be sure you get the best value for your money. These are not times to be spending money fixing expensive engine problems because of cheap fuel and lubricants. Drive to a Petrosol station today and buy your quality fuel and lubricants, and rest assured of fuel that lasts long and lubricants that prevent expensive engine problems. Hear the sound. Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity.
Go
GoTV is stepping up your entertainment from the 15th of January at no extra cost to you. If you are on GoTV Value, upgrade to GoTV Plus to watch GoTV Max. Already on GoTV Plus? Upgrade to GoTV Max to enjoy GoTV Super. And if you are on GoTV Max, upgrade to GoTV Super to enjoy the best of the best on GoTV Super Plus. Don't wait. Step up your entertainment today. It's on us. GoTV. Love it. T&C's apply.
Welcome back to the Midday News. We have sports, Victor.
Well, in sports this afternoon, former Ghana international Tony Bafo has criticized the sports ministry over their reluctance to pay the Black Queens outstanding bonus of $7,500 from the 3 qualifiers. In a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, Tony Bafo, who visited the team's training on Tuesday, said the sports ministry ought to respect the Black Queens. Now, the team is owed qualification bonuses from 2 rounds of qualifying in the Paris 2024 Olympic qualifiers and the African Women's Cup of Nations qualifiers. They've only been paid for the 2-legged affair over Guinea, which was an Olympic qualifier, while bonuses from wins over Benin and Rwanda and Namibia. The Benin match was an Olympic qualifier, and the other 2 are both African Women's Cup of Nations qualifiers, have not been settled. So what has the Ghana Football Association been saying about this? Gifty Awaremensan is the chairperson for the management committee of the Black Queens.
Myself, the president of GFA, Mr. Ketukwiku, and then the minister in the ministry had spoken. And they had made promises to us that we are going to get these monies for these girls before we go into our next match, which means going against Zambia on the 23rd of February. So we are very hopeful. We believe what the ministry has said, and then the money will come.
As the member of the Executive Council of the Ghana Football Association.
Thank you, Victor. Now, the West Africa Examination Council has initiated investigations into 289 withheld results of private WASI candidates. These results have been withheld due to various infractions, including collusion, impersonation, and the use of foreign materials. Head of Public Affairs at WAEC, John Kapi, spoke to Joy News.
Provisional results of 37,825 private candidates who sat the 2023 WASI second series were released. According to a statement by WAEC, the entry figure comprised 17,389 males and 20,725 females.
Yes, so as we stated in our press statement, there were issues of collusion where we saw people exchange papers, and it was obvious that they had written the same thing. We had also cases of impersonation. Probably somebody registered but wasn't sure that they were capable of writing, so they hired somebody to come in and write for them. And in the course of it, we were able to apprehend some of them.
John Kapi is head of public affairs at WAEC. Now, the death of a 17-year-old student of the Kalpohin Senior High School in the northern region has sparked concerns in the school after allegations of negligence against the senior housemaster. The housemaster is alleged to have responded too late to complaints from students that the boy was unwell. Now, the MP for the area says, given the deplorable state of the school, which lacks basic amenities such as sick bay and means of transportation, the senior housemaster did no wrong in the incident.
I do not think that Kalpohin Senior High School has a sick bay. I am certain they don't. I have been to the school a couple of times. They have mentioned their problems to me, and I think that the sick bay is a luxury, and that is why it has never come up. In all of this, my heart goes out to the family of the student. I think that they are having to deal with the worst end of this situation. And I have interacted with administrators and teachers of the Kalpohin Senior High School many times on different occasions. And I do not think they are negligent people. The headmistress is a fantastic, woman. And I think they have passion for what they do.
And you heard Alhassan Suhini speaking on that incident there, taking us to Jackie and Max. What's happening?
Well, Maame, I see a lot is trending, but black queens are trending again. Well, just as the sports segment says, they are threatening to boycott their match on Friday because government owes them some amount of money. But netizens have been expressing their opinion. So someone says that, well, they should. Why should the technical team member of the Black Stars take 100K for an appearance fee? And someone is saying that GFA is saying when a wife buys a gun, then the husband gets to keep it.
Why? What does that mean?
Well, you know, the women are actually doing well. And at the end of the day, the men are just, they'll get their money, but they're not putting in the efforts. But there's another name trending on social media, Akokwa Newman. You know, some weeks ago, I spoke about a young man who was going viral with a song, Akokwa.
Yes.
That's Safu Newman. And he linked up with Sarkodie. And everyone on social media is saying that we're expecting some sort of collaboration, considering the fact that Sarkodie was one of the key people to endorse him when his song came out.
Well, I enjoy that song so much. And that's it for the Midday News. It's brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. There's more news on My Joy on